It's September the 26th, 1986, and Metallica are relaxing in their tour bus after a heavy week of touring in Sweden. As the long night begins to draw in, the heavy metal rockers decide to draw cards to make a call on who would get the best bunk bed. As guitarist Kirk Hammett holds out the set of playing cards, eager to win, bassist Cliff Burton draws the Ace of Spades and gleefully chooses the bed that Kirk had been using. Little did he know, but choosing this card and making the decision to move to this bunk was going to be the worst decision of Cliff's life. People and cultures throughout the world have long considered the Ace of Spades to be a symbol of bad luck, disaster, and imminent death. It's often associated with the Ace of Swords, a card known to symbolize death or conflict in a tarot card deck, and it has been argued that the Ace of Spades was originally this card in much earlier decks. It was also used as a receipt for paying taxes in the medieval ages, with forgery leading to punishment by hanging. It was also left on the bodies of the North Vietnamese killed by US troops during the Vietnam War as a way to try and frighten other Vietnamese soldiers. It was often the last thing that soldiers would see after they lost their lives to the US troops. It was also part of the famous dead man's hand in poker, after Old West folk hero and gunfighter Wild Bill Hickok was found holding it at his time of death when he was killed by a gunshot to the back of his head. "Fine, take my bunk," Hammett says, trying to hide his disappointment. "I'll sleep up front, it's probably better anyways." Burton happily climbs into his bunk and pulls the sheets over his tired body, ready to settle in for the night. Just before 7 a.m, the band members awake with a jolt as the bus began to skier out of control, swerving all over the place, leaving the road and finally flipping onto its side. It was pitch black, and everyone was screaming and panicking as they scrambled around to find each other in the dark. Finally, they reunited, but nobody could find Cliff. Then they saw his legs sticking out from underneath the bus, and they all lost their minds. The bus had thrown Burton straight through the window as it had jolted and then collapsed onto his body, squeezing him between the heavy machinery and the cold, hard gravel underneath. James started crying and screaming Cliff's name. Frustrated and heartbroken over the state of his friend, he began to kick over lamps and throw bottles of booze. A rescue attempt was made by lifting the bus with a crane, but tragically, the crane slipped and caused the bus to land on Burton's crushed body a second time. Cliff had died. The driver claims that he lost control of the bus after it hit a patch of black ice, but frontman James Hetfield claims that he walked up and down the road several times in just his socks and underwear, but no black ice was to be found. This caused many to speculate over the years if the driver had been under the influence of substances or fallen asleep at the wheel. The driver was, however, cleared of any fault after a thorough investigation. Lars was left with a broken toe and the manager a dislocated shoulder. Burton's body was cremated and his ashes were scattered at the Maxwell Ranch in California, and a memorial stone was placed at the crash site. Metallica's song Orion was played at the funeral, and the lyrics "Cannot the kingdom of salvation take me home, from to live is to die" were engraved on his memorial stone. Ex-Metallica guitarist Dave Mustaine, now being a member of the band Megadeth, wrote the song "In My Darkest Hour," after hearing of Cliff's death. And although the lyrics were not about Cliff, he dedicated the song to him. And the band Anthrax dedicated their Among the Living album to him. Was Cliff cursed by the Ace of Spades, or was it just bad luck? Comment below.